Suresh garu, Srini Anant garu, Bhaskar garu, Raj garu, Sridhar garu, Dr. Valli garu, and of course the beautiful young faces before the dais and the parents seated here as well. Telugulo nantara, English nantara. My greetings to everybody firstly. And I must say it's a great honor and pleasure for me to be here in front of you and actually sharing my thoughts and my feelings with all of you as well. I'm given to understand that WeStrive had actually started its journey in 2016 and has come 3 years since its inception and has strived actually to do good for the society, probably the underprivileged, those far away from welfare, and as well as trying to bring out the dormant leadership qualities in the young generation who was all seated here before the dais. My purpose coming here to this place was actually to spend some time with my cousin's daughter, Bhuvana, and she was also having the function of opening her stall. So we thought, okay, I would just spend some time with her and kind of encourage her and go back. But then that was when I was asked by Suresh garu and Srini Anant garu to actually come and address you all. And when I learned the good work that they were doing, there was no way I could say, no, I don't have the time. I personally felt that I did have to come here and talk to the younger kids because the good social work that WeStrive has been doing over the past 3 years, going back to India and the Indian philosophical thinking, social service is not something new to us. It's always been in our culture, in our philosophical thinking. When we go back to the Puranas as well, there are many shlokas, many words which say that we all need to live together in harmony with each other. And when we say we all, it does not simply mean just the human beings itself, but it also talks about nature. And today we hear and see the damage that is being caused to nature. And we also see the negative impact of actually harming nature. Bahujana hitaya, bahujana sukhaya was what our Rigvedas said. And when we say Bahujana, like I mentioned earlier, it simply does not mean just the Homo sapiens. It also means the nature, and we need to nurture nature. Like Mahatma Gandhi had said, nature has lots to give us for our needs, but not for our greed. And unfortunately, we see us over-exploiting nature, and the negative impact is well felt by all of us. And before it becomes too late, I think that is one aspect that needs to be addressed. And the reason why I reiterate this is because we just need to strike our roots with our culture, with what our ancestors have said. And it really enlightens us. And there is also shlokas in our holy scriptures which say, Prajahite hitam rajnyaha prajanam cha sukhe sukham. Natma priyam hitam rajnyaha prajanam cha sukhe sukham. Which means that we need to strive and work for the welfare of the people around us. And those who actually do not pay any focus to doing good to others do not have any right to survive. And that is where I think I should appreciate the good work that WeStrive has been doing over the past 3 years in reaching out to the underprivileged. I'm given to understand they even go to the slums where the poor dwell, cook food, try to share it with them, try to enrich their soft skills so that they actually find a place in this big world. And they actually turn out to be leaders later on. Then the question is, what do we actually mean by leadership? Is it simply walking in front and having a load of people walking behind us? Then my answer would be no. Leadership is trying to connect with yourself. Leadership is actually trying to identify your strengths and trying to work on your weaknesses. I think that would be the right definition of leadership. And when I say leadership, there are certain traits which we expect our children or the leaders to rather develop to be able to lead society. And the first aspect that would come to my mind is nothing but commitment. Commitment to your cause. I do not think a leader can go forward without conviction and commitment in what he or she is going to do. That is so important. We need to do things passionately with conviction. And only then can the leader lead people who are waiting or looking up for someone else. The second quality that would come to my mind is discipline. Discipline is very important. And when I say discipline, it is trying to set goals for yourself and tell, okay, this is the time frame I have. I am going to do things within this time frame. Now, I cannot say I am going to teach a child with autism and just continue working with the child forever without actually seeing progress. But rather, I would tell myself as a leader that I am going to work with this child for, say, the next 10 days, and this is the goal that I set for myself, where I want the child to be actually reaching the level that I have set for myself. I think that setting goals and discipline is so important for a leader as well. And that has been imbibed into us. I mean, when I say us, into us siblings, we are a large family. I call our family a mini cricket team because we are 11 of us in the family, 11 siblings. But that was what was actually inculcated into us. A, discipline. 2, working with passion and setting goals for yourself. And another most important aspect is, what is leadership? Leadership is not just walking alone in front. Like I had said, having people follow you. Leadership is walking along with the people and taking them towards the goal that you want to reach. So you should be able to walk the people, what you call walk the talk. And not just simply go forward and say, okay, I have achieved success, I have reached my goal and I am successful, or I am a leader. So I think we need to actually walk with the people and be able to convince them to come along with you. And again, it is the ability to inspire people, reach out to them, ensure that your conviction and your belief, your determination is actually instilled into the people who are around you. Inspire them to work along with you towards the goal. So which means you are inspiring the people and you are taking the people along with you. That is a great trait in leadership, and that is so important when you actually think of developing leadership skills. So these are a few important aspects which the future generation would actually have to keep in mind. And when I say the future generation, it is not to undermine the importance of the older generation, because it is the parents, the elders who actually have to be instilling these qualities into the children. Largely we find in today's society, parents probably with their preoccupations or whatever, they could be kind of overlooking these little things. Not that they wouldn't want their child to acquire these skills, but overlooking these things because of their preoccupations itself. Because in today's fast world that we are living in, I don't think we have the time to actually, when we have the joint family system, probably I was just talking to somebody else, we have an entire support system around us who would probably, even if we were negligent, we would have somebody talk to our children about all of this. And in fact, there was one survey which said that the greatest psychiatrist would be the grandparents itself at home, who were actually talking to the grandkids about their own experiences. And children learn from these experiences, they enrich in themselves. But today with the nuclear families more, I mean not only here but even back home in India, we see nuclear families coming up a lot more, which is when the child is actually missing out on that kind of support system. So when we see this support system actually collapsing, I think we as parents need to be more vigilant, work more with the child, try to spend time with the child, instill these qualities in the child. The child is not going to simply get up and start walking the moment it is born. We all know that it needs a finger to latch on to and to take its first step. And I think that is where parents play a very, very big role. So my humble request to the parents here, and probably when you go out and give the message, is to try to spend a lot more time with your children and try to instill these qualities in them. The world wants leaders, not only India, but the world today is actually looking out for leaders, somebody who can lead the way. And I think the leaders, the future leaders are all sitting here, just need a little guidance from us, and I'm sure they do great and fabulously well in life. My blessings to all of them, and my big thanks to WeStrive organization and all the great people seated on the dais for having given me the opportunity to be here with all of you and share my concerns and thoughts. Thank you.
Such wondrous words from our chief guest. I especially like how you're talking about how nature is getting hurt, and I like how you're setting goals when working with the child. Vishal, would you like to say anything?
Something that really popped out to me is having the commitment and having the goals that make you a leader. Thank you so much.
Now, we like to start our fireside chat 3 times. Okay. So I'd like to introduce Samantha Gamini, our student volunteer. So,
hello, thank you for being here. I have a couple of questions for Mrs. Purandeswari and guest speakers Dr. Kodali, Dr. Polavaram, Dr. Vanapalli, and Mr. Gotipati, who can also chime in, so that the audience can get to know our speakers better. My first question would be, in terms of purpose, what would you say your life-defining moment was when you felt like you knew what the rest of your life would be spent doing?
Do I need the mic? I'm sure all of you can hear me, right? Yes. My defining moment would be when I actually entered public life. It was a total contrast to what I was earlier. Very much a homebird, content, trying to be a good daughter, a good wife, and a good mother, and so on. But then I had lost my father in 96, and in 96 January, which is when I was totally lost. I mean, very depressed, felt totally lost, often because my mother had passed away earlier, and then now we were losing our father, and I was totally in utter chaos. And which was when a friend of mine actually introduced me to gemology. And when I went into gemology, and this was the sites of learning about gemstones, that probably would have been the first life-changing moment for me. When I knew that I really lacked the confidence to come out on my own, because until then I had a very protected upbringing. That was the first time when I had to go and live in Mumbai all alone by myself. So that was a great eye-opener for me when I knew that I could do it. The second changing moment was when I had actually been thrust into public life, when I came in totally unplanned. I hadn't planned to come into politics or public life, and I didn't really have a vision as to how I should proceed in public life. But I was suddenly thrust into it. And I remember very well when I had to make my first public speech, I was very scared, because I hadn't spoken in front of even a handful of people until then. But I had one elderly gentleman who stood behind me and said to me, well, this may be very funny, but he said, Purandeswari, no matter, but when you speak, tell yourself just one thing, that the audience sitting before you or standing before you do not know anything, and you are the most intelligent person on the face of the planet. But yes, I made my speech, and when I got out the dais, he said, why were you scared? You spoke pretty well. So I think these little, they may be very small incidences, but yes, they were actually changing the course, because they were actually telling me what I could do, how I could go forward.
Thank you for sharing.
But just to supplement what Dr. Bhaskar had said just now, getting a first class meant 65%? 60%. When we made laugh today that 60% is first class and we're so proud of it, but yes, we are still proud of getting 60% because it was not like what you kids actually have, the privileged kids of today. We were so deprived and we had to literally strive to get the 60%. And that is why I feel our education, the foundation we had, was much more stronger than the foundation that the kids today are having. And the second thing is the rote learning that he spoke about. Mugging up the whole damn book is what he said. But believe me, it has its own advantages. What I had mugged up when I was a little kid, I still remember till today. I'm about 61 years of age, but I still remember all that I had mugged up when I was in school. So it has its own advantages.
So people say that failure is one of the keys to success. So how do you bounce back from failure? And if you don't mind, could you provide an example?
Well, the famous saying was failure is a stepping stone to success, right? You learn from your failures. So that is how you actually come. There's no point in getting depressed over what has already been done and what you have lost. But I would rather say that should give you the strength to say, yes, this is the mistake that I have done and we must progress from here on. Which also means that you need to have the inner strength to accept the wrong and mistake that you have done. Unless you are receptive, I do not think the inner strength can actually be built up. And that is very important when we talk of progressing from failures.
Thank you. That was some good advice.
So this is persistent. Being persistent until they say, my God, I can't shake him off, I need him now.
Thank you.
Okay, so I actually have a question for Mrs. Purandeswari. So, because you are such a great orator, we would like to know some steps to follow to become a great public speaker.
Well, actually, you need to know what you are going there to speak about. That is very important initially. You need to do your little homework. And, of course, unless you are convinced of what you want to say, you never speak. Now, when I do my little research, suppose, well, I haven't done any research on WeStrive because Rachel just came and mentioned a couple of things to me, but beyond that, I haven't known. But even if you have to go and make a speech somewhere, I think you need to do your research. But even as you're doing your research, see, I'm not the kind who can jot things down on paper, put the paper in front of me and read. So unless I feel and I'm totally convinced that this is what I need to say, I do not go to the occasion or I do not get onto the dais. Because when I have to connect to people, I need to know what the people in front of the dais actually have in mind. I need to know what their thought process is. And then, even if I differ from that, I need to find a way of convincingly putting across my own thinking. So I think that's very important. Knowing what you have to speak, knowing the thought process of the audience in front of you, and convincingly putting your thoughts forward.
Thank you very much.
Your speaking abilities, as our Chief Guest is telling, actually, you should know exactly first the topic. Second thing is audience. You should know how to connect to the audience. And making sure that you know the start and ending part and finish it in time. I was going on for a long time. Shouldn't do that actually. You can't get carried away like that. So make sure that it is. The header and footer has to be very clear, right? And it's not good and it has to match each other. And in between, make sure that you connect the audience. They're very important.
Just to share a little experience of mine with the audience in front. When I first went to the parliament, I was totally lost. I didn't know how to actually ask questions, raise topics, and talk in the parliament in front of the speaker. which was when I turned to one of my senior colleagues for help, and I asked him how do I speak in Parliament. And the answer he gave me was, Purandeswari, you just have to hold your hand up because the speaker needs to see you. And I know your arm is going to go numb with pain, but please don't bring it down. The speaker has to see you first. And then he said the speaker is going to call him. He's going to say, Purandeswari, now it's your turn. And then you stand up. And the moment you stand up and you say, thank you, Mr. Speaker, you're going to hear a buzzer. It says your 2 minutes is over and you need to sit down. So, but interestingly, he said, Purandeswari, please don't sit down because you've been sent to the Parliament to speak, so you need to speak. But what he said after that was very interesting. He said, well, you as a speaker can speak for n number of hours, but ensure you don't say anything. That is something that I'm yet to learn, where you speak for long, long hours, but don't say anything. Don't deliver any message. So that's one way which most of the politicians end up doing. So that was an eye-opener to me, and I was told that, well, you don't need to do that as a politician now, you need to speak sense. First thing is, I just wanted to share this with you. I'm the right away.
So there's a lot of work that comes with being a leader. So how do you balance personal life and work?
Yeah. That as a woman is very important and very difficult as well. You need to tie up with that. Well, as I mentioned earlier, until 2004, I was a total, just a housewife. When I say housewife, well, I don't undermine the importance of housewife also, because she's a mother, she's a daughter, she's a daughter-in-law, she's a wife, she's everything at home. So we have our own set of challenges being a housewife as well, but I hadn't come out into public. But once I came into public life, it was a 24/7, 365. You know, you don't have time for yourself, you don't have time for your family. And until I came into public life, well, I was everything for my children. I would take my son to his tennis classes, my daughter to her badminton classes, sit down with my kids, work with them with all their homework. Then I would talk to my mother-in-law, attend to her, whatever her needs were. So I was totally everything for everybody at home. And I didn't want them to feel the void once I stepped out of the house. So despite my going to the Parliament, and as I had mentioned earlier, it was very, very time-consuming and taking away a lot of my time, but I ensured, I kept telling my kids that I'm always there for you. Never once did I let them feel that, well, Amma is now in public life, so she doesn't care for us. So even if I had my challenges on the public life front, even if whenever my daughter or my son needed me, I was always there. I ensured I was there. Where people outside thought, why is she doing such stupid things? She should let this go and concentrate on that. But for me, this was also important. Secondly, with the elders at home, like I said, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law at home, I ensured I called her 3 times a day, every day till they were alive. Just to tell her I'm the same daughter-in-law that I was even before. Because you see them, you know, the change slowly comes in them when they start feeling that we are not there, we are not attending on them as much as we would do earlier. So I would call them thrice a day, every day, morning, afternoon and evening, and relate and tell her everything that went on throughout the day. So that I didn't want anybody else telling my mother-in-law or my father-in-law that she did this and they didn't know about. Again, this is just an assurance, not that it made a big difference to them or to me, but it is to assure them that I'm the same person, I'm the same Chinnamma as they would call me, always there for them. And I think that is very important. You need to balance your professional and your family life. And I know it is very difficult, more particularly for women than men, but it's very important that we ensure and assure our family members that we are there and we are the same.
Thank you. We're running out of time, so if it's okay, I'll move on to my next question. So who has made a big difference on you as a leader?
Definitely my father. Because, well, we do read about great leaders, we idolize them as well, but you don't see them from close proximity. Whereas here was the stalwart, whom I was living with day in and day out and was watching him very closely. So he definitely made a big impact on me. And what was the best impression was him telling me that society has given me a lot, now I need to pay back society, I need to give back to society. And he gave it back selflessly, absolutely no vested interest, and he definitely felt that he had to give back to society. I think he made a big impact on me. His dedication as well. When he made up his mind, he was completely dedicated to it, to the extent of being adamant at sometimes. He would say, this is what I have said, this is what I have promised, and this is what I am going to deliver. I think that was very important to me. And again, the conviction. There were times when he would make policies as the Chief Minister of the state, and he would have his officials come over and tell him that this is simply not possible. Like, he brought forward the kilo rice for ₹2 for the poor people. When his officials said this cannot be done because the burden that the state government would have to bear is going to be immense. But here was the man who said, forget what the state is going to do. Here as a Chief Minister, I have promised the people of the state that I am going to deliver a kilo rice for ₹2, and period. That's it. I need to do it. So he had his officials go back, hustle up, work on it, and come back and say, yes sir, we can do it. So unless you have the conviction that I can do it, will not people, that is what I mentioned earlier when I spoke about leadership qualities, you need to have conviction in what you do. And since he had the conviction that he could do it, he had his officials also come up and say, yes, we can deliver. I think that is, he's the biggest, he's the one person who left the most indelible mark on me.
Another question I have is, since you have been a leader and still are a leader, could you please give us some insight on what makes a great leader and like the components and everything?
Compassion is very important. Conviction is very important. Commitment and dedication. I think these are the aspects that would come to my mind when you speak of success, which a leader would want to lap up. And unless you don't have, if you don't have these qualities in you, I don't think you can make a good leader. Compassion, yes, because you need to actually understand the difficulties which people are undergoing, which the hurdles that people are facing, and that compassion is very important. Conviction, as I had mentioned earlier, the conviction that yes, this is what I need to do and this is what I would do, and believe in what you do. I think that is very important again. Determination, yes, as I said, you can be determined to the extent of being adamant as well, but that definitely pays off as a leader, because people wouldn't want you walking halfway with them and then saying, no, I don't think this is possible and I'm going to back out. You know, you need to have the determination to say, come what may, but I'm going to go to the end. And commitment, dedication, yes, I think these are the qualities which a leader should necessarily have forever.
Thank you.
In my family, there is one tradition that we follow. When I say my family, it is me and my kids. On their birthdays, right when they were little, we just never had a birthday party without going to an orphanage. We would always pay for a lunch in the orphanage, take my children over, sit and eat with them. This is just to tell my kids that they are very privileged and there is a world beyond theirs where there are a lot more underprivileged and deprived children. And well, I never ever expected my kids to follow it, but I have 2 grandkids. My granddaughter is 10 and my grandson is 9. And I see suddenly my daughter do the same thing with her children. She ensures she takes them to the orphanage. They sit down with them, they have lunch with them or tea with them, whatever, at least one meal with them. And this is to give them the insight into the fact that there are children lesser privileged than them and they have to thank God for all that they have. I think that's very important for us as parents to actually give our children that kind of a perspective as well.
Thank you for that. Of the many things you do, what makes your heart beat the fastest? So this basically means, what do you enjoy the best, if you have to choose?
Well, until I came into public life, it was when my daughter or my son played their game or sport very well. That was what made me very happy. But later on, I think it was a big change for me when I had to represent a constituency as probably a member of the parliament. And I would go back to my parliament constituency and see the challenges that were lying before me. And if out of the 100 challenges that I was looking at, if I was able to solve even one, I think that was what gave me great satisfaction. More particularly, we know that we are an agrarian-based economy, and about 60% of our population is still dependent on agriculture living in the villages. And there was one incident where the paddy that was grown by the farmers was not picked up from Andhra because it had a black spot. You know? And it was totally rejected. If I can just share this incident with the guests here. Mr. Sharad Pawar was the Minister for Agriculture, and he simply said, I cannot pick rice from Andhra because it had a black spot. Which is when I didn't know what to do, but when I sat down and spoke to some of the farmers and some of the researchers, they said, no, we can do something called the DNA testing on paddy. Until then, I was totally unaware of the fact that we could do a DNA testing on paddy as well. When we went to Marte, when we got the entire testing done, we got the certification done, I went back to the Minister of Agriculture to ask him to lift the paddy from AP again, which is again when he said, he and his officials said, no way. It's first, the percentage of dampness in paddy, we cannot take it. Which is when I first produced the first certificate which said no. There is absolutely no wetness in the paddy there, and you could acquire it. So he was bought. Then the second time when he said that it has got a black spot and it is diseased, I produced the second certificate saying no, it is in the DNA, and one of the identification of this breed is that it needs to have the black spot. So he didn't have any other way but to say yes, now procure rice from the farmers in AP. Similarly, with the Bengal chana that was grown in AP as well, the exports were banned. When I literally had to fight with the Minister for Agriculture and Minister for Commerce and open up the ban that was on the export of Bengal chana, which was when Mr. Kamal Nath, who was then the Minister of Commerce but couldn't do it himself, turned around and thanked me because Madhya Pradesh was also producing the largest amount of chana at that point of time. And today, when I go back, rather than simply call me Chinnamma, they would call me Senegal Chinnamma. You know, it shows the happiness of the farmers, and it also gives me the self-satisfaction that I was able to solve. So I think that was, those were two moments that actually gave me great happiness and satisfaction.
Thank you. This somewhat relates to the first question before, but it's a little more specific. So what is the accomplishment you consider to be the most significant in your career?
Well, the accomplishment that is very significant for me. Going to the parliament itself is a big accomplishment for me. Because as I had mentioned earlier, I was a very shy, very introvertish kind of a person, not able to go out, talk to people. Because as I had said, we had a very protected upbringing, being the daughter of so-and-so, and then a very protected life, being the wife of so-and-so. So it was totally, very protected, surrounded with people who were always guarding you, kind of a thing. Which is when I had to go to the parliament and make my presence felt. It's simply not go to the parliament, but you need to make your presence felt. And I remember the first time when I made my speech, it was the agrarian crisis in India. And I had finished earlier, I was told that I would be the third speaker when I would be given simply 7 minutes to speak. Only 7 minutes, and I had to concise all my thoughts into the 7 minutes and present it to the parliament. But later on, they came to realize that the lead speaker was actually absent because of ill health, and I was asked to make the speech, and I was said that I should talk no less than half an hour, 30 minutes. So from the 7 minutes to expand my speech to 30 minutes, and yet make an impressive speech, because that was the first speech that I was making in Parliament. And when I finished it, I think I spoke for about 43 minutes or something, if I'm right, And the moment I finished it, the first note that I got was from Mr. Sharad Pawar, who actually congratulated me on the speech that I had made. And then the second appreciation I got was from Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, who said that yes, I made a very good, valid, I had raised valid points. I still have the notes that they had sent me. So I think from there on, yes, I think I've come a long way, and people have been very supportive, very gracious, and they've supported me well.
At this time, we would open the questions up to the audience, and please refrain from asking any political or personal questions. Thank you.
Sorry?
What are some ways that being a leader affects your future?
Somebody's?
Some ways.
Some ways of becoming a leader of the future.
Being a leader affects your future.
That's a wonderful question again, because yes, as I had mentioned earlier, also as a leader, you need to understand the challenges which may arise out of what you are going to do today. Okay? Like for example, as I had mentioned earlier, we were so negligent about the health of the nature, and we were over-exploiting it. And today we have depleted nature, and we are actually being negatively impacted. So I should have thought about what would happen if I had over-exploited nature, and then work on those lines. Right? So you need to, a leader needs to have a vision of what would be the challenges of the future, which would be the result of what we are doing today, and try to work towards that as well. I think that would be the best.
So I also had a question. How do you monitor all the people that you meet? And of course, that's open to all of you.
How would we monitor the people?
Yeah.
Well, suppose I am representing a constituency. We have technology at the fingertips today. I would probably have a FaceTime with them, like most of you guys do. Talk to them about what their issues were. Never let them feel that I'm away from them. Because back home in India, when I represent a constituency, I'm expected to be around for them always. Okay? So this is one way that I can assure them that I am with them. Secondly, yes, I need to have the planning and the manpower to actually make sure that my constituents can actually walk into my home or my office without any fear, without any hesitation, and submit to my office or my home the challenges or the issues that they are facing, so that I could actually work on it and try to resolve them. I think that's very important.
If the question is related to, she have a Twitter account, Facebook account, something like that?
As a public person, I think save me. That's why I said FaceTime.
Anyone else have a question?
There.
Good afternoon, ma'am, and thank you for being here with us today. My question is, social media is playing a major role in our lives today. How does social media impact you and in general leadership over the years? And is there any guidance you want to give us youngsters as we groom ourselves to being future leaders?
That's a wonderful question. Because the challenge we are facing today is with the social media. Initially, we had the print media that was completely unmonitored, and they could use whatever news they wanted, until we had the electronic media that came on the scene, and we had the checks and balances falling in place. And then slowly the electronic media also started overstepping and playing up to the whims and fancies of the leaders, not the people. So the media, which should have been a bridge between the people and the leaders, was slowly kind of forgetting the importance, forgetting the work that they need to do, and they were actually going and playing the game with the political leaders. So there they kind of digressed and went in the wrong way. Which is when we believed that the social media that came on the scene was actually a great savior. But unfortunately, down the line, probably 5 years back, it was a wonderful way in which we could actually reach out to the people and tell the people what we were thinking and what we would want to do. But today I don't think the social media back home in India is going the right way as well. We have false news being planted in social media. We have words taken out of context, blown out of context and being planted in social media, which is where we as public people, or rather people in public life, are actually suffering the most. You know, so I think social media is again a little unfettered now, and then we definitely need to have some kind of a monitoring or regulation that needs to be put in place when it comes to social media as well. And you as young leaders, young kids growing up to be leaders, I think you need to understand this and ensure that it's not just, maybe you would want your perspective to be known to the people as well, but the right information has to go. So we would not want this younger generation to go wayward, but rather go the right direction when it comes to social media.
Thank you.
I just want to make one comment on that. Social media becomes a problem for all of us. I'm a very technology, I don't know much about technology. So I don't have Facebook account, I don't know much other than big name. For you, and if you want to be sincere and leaders, don't spread the word you see. In this, some people call it fake news, and many times it is. So make sure, if at all you are using social media, spreading the information, unless you are sure, don't do it. That's my suggestion. Because many times you come, as she said, everything is falsified or glorified. Facts are hidden, or facts are not hidden, or facts are falsified.
Just one more point on that actually. It's like a nuclear material, and there's this enormous amount of energy there. You can make a bomb and kill millions of people, or you can turn the turbines and create so many hungry stomachs. Same way, any technology, anything is given by the Almighty upstairs, empowering us to be a better humans. So we can use this for the right cause and the right way to become good leaders and encourage the leaders to be good in their public lives and also help the process to become better society. And that's what we should be using it rather than using it in the wrong direction. Especially for children. It's like what you feed through the mouth. Whatever you feed through the mouth, it becomes your body. What you feed through the eyes and ears, it becomes your database of your knowledge actually there. At least mouth, if you feed wrong things, you can puke and you can diarrhea, you will come out. But if you feed through the eyes and ears, it becomes a permanent database for you. So that's be very careful what you see through the eyes and ears. Be very selective in what you let through your mind. Very precious. That's what it operates your body. So keep it very clean.
Thank you for coming to talk to us, first of all. And so how were your first experiences as speaking to somebody? Like, how did it feel and like okay, yeah, that's what
Well, when I uttered my first word, I don't know what I said, and I don't know what other people felt as well when I was speaking. When I was little, my mother would often tell me that words are like feathers. You leave them in the air and they're blown away. When you try to pick them up, you cannot pick each one of them up. You may pick up some, but not all. So you need to be very careful with your words, very careful with what you say. So once you utter something, I don't think there's any way that you could take it back. So you need to be very cautious about what you say. Every word that is going to be uttered by you need to actually come not just through your heart and out through your mouth, but rather heart, mind, and then your mouth. That's very important. You make or you break with your words.
How did you become interested in Indian politics? How did you become interested in politics?
My stint in politics.
How can you get
How did I get interested in politics? Well, I had a family that was in politics, but I was not interested in politics. As I had mentioned earlier, my father was there, my husband was there. They were all talking about everything, about politics, but it was like, okay, it's just kind of happening, they're discussing, they're talking, and that's it. But my fame to politics was very circumstantial. I didn't plan, and I didn't want to be there, but I was thrust into it. But once I was there, yes, I did want to make my mark. Because I just didn't want to come into politics as somebody's daughter or somebody's wife, and then just lay back very complacent about the whole thing. You know, for me, when I entered politics, it was quite easy in the sense that here was Sri India's daughter. So people were actually respecting me because I was his child. But we should not forget the fact that that respect would only be for a limited period of time. And if I cannot prove myself, then I would just remain his daughter, which is of course very important for me, because I do have a huge legacy that I needed to live up to, the legacy of late Sri India. So that again was a challenge for me, you know. But once I was there, yes, that was what actually kept me going. But frankly speaking, before I came into politics, it was happening all around me, that's it. I was there in the midst of it, but I was not particularly interested in that.
At this time, we'll have the photo up, so if you would like to take a picture with our guests and chief guests, please form a line.
This opportunity to request Mrs. Dagbari to address and give a final word of thanks. And then after that, as part of WeStrive, I would like to give a note of thanks and then we'll end it in about 2 minutes.
I actually thought I had said everything that I wanted to say in the meeting itself, but let me thank WeStrive, Suresh Garu and Ananta Garu and all of them, Srini Ananta Garu, for having given me the opportunity to be here with all of you. Wonderful seeing the bright young faces sitting quiet before the dais and listening to us. I'm not sure if they've really taken in what we have said, and I hope you have understood whatever message that we wanted to pass across to all of you. But I must say that as a closing remark, that the Indian fraternity makes us feel very proud back home. Because here is an entire section of people who are not only making a big difference when it comes to the social and economic situations in any country that they go to. The Indian shows that they have actually gone to and settled down and made it part of their home. But here is an entire section of Indian population who are also influencing the political situations and scenarios of that country. And that's a huge, I think that makes us really, our heart just, grows with pride when we think of what our Indian brethren are doing in the Indian shows. Yes, probably you might have come to these countries looking for better job opportunities, for better living conditions and so on and so forth. But the contribution, the way you have assimilated yourself into the social system, the symbiotic feeling that is being created when you have actually assimilated yourself into the country, into the system, and the big difference that you are actually making, I think makes us feel very proud. And there is this saying which was said by one of the great people back home at that point of her time. Ye desamekina endu kalikina ye peethamekina evarithrena povdala neetanniku vi bharatni nilupara leejate nindu gauravam. So I think the Indian fraternity really shows actually bring great laurels to the Indian people back home. The way the world is actually looking towards India today, the confident strides of India that are being very closely viewed and pursued by countries across the globe, I think is all because of you. And thank you all for that. Thank you.
Just a quick minute. So first I have a few list of names that I want to recognize without whom this event wouldn't be possible. First, it would be all the guests of the guests and the chief guest of honor. And Kishan, Malineni, Krishna, Valavani, Raju Purapati, Purna Chandra Kondragunta, Imran Sharif, and Seshu Surapneni right there. And Mohan Kore, who's not here, and the wonderful MCs that are sitting, sorry, the wonderful MCs that are sitting here, and Bose Kamini, my confidant in my crime that I do actually in this meeting. With that, I want to thank everyone.